background for like early days up until now. Ferrari Los Gatos has started. We've gotten a little taste of how it just exploded immediately and you blew all the other guys out of the water. Now let's talk about the customers.
Well, we can do one customer, and there's a lot. Anyway, I'll give you one customer. Is this running right now?
Mm-hmm.
So one day this guy comes in. He's got glasses. He's tall, probably 6'3" or 6'4". He's seems like a pretty nice guy, and he's kind of scholarly looking, and he's wanting to buy a used car. Well, I'd bought somewhere a Lamborghini Countach, not Countach, I'm sorry, a Mira S, do you know what they look like? 69 Mira S, probably one of the most beautiful cars ever built.
We'll put it up.
It's a big 12-cylinder Lamborghini, but the motor's sideways, and they're really collectible. And see, there's a story about Ferrari and Lamborghini, why Lamborghini exists. That's another time. This was a very desirable car. It was chocolate brown metallic with gold wheels. And when you drive one down the street, it sounds like a very loud machine shop. I mean, all the gears and 12 cylinders, 4 cam. I mean, just a freak. 6 carburetors, and the motor sideways behind you. Mm-hmm. And they're gorgeous. He comes in, and finally he settles on that car, and he's just dressed blue jeans, t-shirt, but he says that he's a professor at Stanford, and that he's got some money, but he's got another professor at Stanford that will co-sign for him because he'll probably need a co-signer. Mm-hmm. See, because we could even finance a car like that through County Bank of Santa Cruz. So he drives it, we drive it. I mean, we drive it. He drives it, and did that pull out? No. So he's weird. He's weird. He's nice. He's pleasant, well spoken, everything, and he brings this old man in to co-sign for him, who's a professor at Stanford. So he signs up, buys the car, drives away into the sunset, and everything's fine. It's a used car, and it's a Lamborghini. They weren't quite as, let's say, dependable as a Ferrari, which, Ferrari had the rep of being not dependable. Lamborghinis were not dependable. Okay, so we don't hear anything for a few days and all that stuff, and then pretty soon he comes back and he says, my clutch isn't working right. And so we said the slave cylinder probably. Send it over to the shop. The shop verifies that. Call around. You can't find a slave cylinder for a Lamborghini Mira anywhere on the planet. Mm-hmm. So we have to order it out of Italy. Well, he had just bought the car, and we'd made quite a bit of money. We didn't loan cars that much, but we gave him that green GT4 to drive for a while. So months and months, or weeks and days that turn into weeks and weeks, and that slave cylinder's never come to pass, and we can't find the pieces to rebuild it or any of that. And he's driving the GT4, and he had brought the old guy in to co-sign the papers, so I knew what he looked like. So anyway, he comes in just out of his mind, crazy, mad. I want my car, blah, blah, blah. I said, there's nothing we can do. I can't build one for you right now. You got a Ferrari you're driving. I mean, what's the problem? And we're fixing it for nothing. Anyway, he walks away, but he's turns into a complete psycho. So he calling all the time and everything, and so one day, I go into work in the morning. He had we had that building across the street, and we had the shop was behind the dealership there, and it was small. So the cars that had to stay longer than a week or so, we would keep in that building across the street where we stored cars. But then during the day, if we had to get something out, we would pull out one and park it in the parking lot as long as we were around. So this car was already put outside in the morning, and we had been doing that for about a week because service was full, and so we were putting the cars we couldn't work on the lot. And all of a sudden, I see him walking up the street. I guess he had parked up there or something. I see him walking up the street, and he's just kind of loitering, whatever that word is, just hanging out, watching, looking at the dealership. I don't think much of it. So I'm sitting there, and people work there coming in and stuff, and everybody's hanging out. And suddenly a news truck pulls up that's got the big dish on it, the ones they film with. And it's from either one of the local stations. And it parks across the street. And I don't think anything of that, except maybe something's going on in one of the buildings, or they're signing papers for some big deal the town's making or whatever. And so about 15 minutes later, another one pulls up, like Channel 7 and one Channel 2. And 5 minutes later, here comes Channel 5. And they're all parking in front of that building across the street, and one in front of the Ferrari dealership. And they get up and they're putting up dishes up and all that stuff. And I thought, what the hell's going on? Because the city offices were right next door across where the library is. Yeah. So pretty soon I see them all up on their trucks and all in place. And this pickup truck pulls up, and a guy gets out of it, and he's got a sledgehammer in his hands. And the other guy walks around to the door of his truck, and he pulls out a sledgehammer, the guy that owned the car. And the news people are all there and everything, and we're kind of curious, looking at what's going on. And all of a sudden, they start beating the shit out of the Lamborghini with the sledgehammers. And they beat the Lamborghini into the ground. I mean, the roof, everything with the sledgehammers, knocking windows out. The deck lid came down over the car. And it was almost surrealistic. And finally, a news lady comes up after they're done beating the shit out of the car and starts interviewing them. And his story was on all the news stations that he had bought the car there, and the slave cylinder or just the clutch had quit working, and they had promised to fix it, which they had. I mean, we were, but that part, of course, never comes out. And I think Nancy in the office ran across the street to get the cops because the police station was right there.
Had they called the news before and told them that they were going to do that?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no reason for him to be there.
Yeah.
All three stations.
Yeah.
So she runs across to get the police. Mm-hmm. Well, the police come over and they take both of them across to the station. They're right there. But the news has gotten what they wanted. They got the Lamborghini beat the crap out of them. And so
this is all right outside of Ferrari of Los Gatos.
It's right in front.
Right in front.
Right in the storage building across the street.
Lamborghini.
And there's now a group gathering, to watch the action. So she goes and gets cops. Cops come over, get them, take them over, interrogate them. Well, it's his car, right? Yeah. They let him go. But it's every news station around that evening. Yeah. Well, my dad used to say, well, bad advertising is at least advertising. Mm-hmm. So we had people there for weeks wanting to see the Lamborghini that got beat up. It was like,
it was just sitting there.
Well, we moved it inside, but
you brought it inside?
Well, of course, it was still worth money. So, but I'm not done yet. So the part comes in, of course, can't get the trunk open Anyway, so I live on Pepper Lane at the time. I'm married to Tina. We've got Jill, or Christy, and I guess we have Jill too. And I start getting phone calls during the day, a girl on the other end threatening that he's going to. No, I'm ahead of myself again. So about 3 weeks later, he's on the news again. He had just robbed the Bank of America in Sausalito.
He's a Stanford professor.
What? He said he was.
He said he was.
He's just robbed the Bank of America in Sausalito.
Uh-huh.
It's him on TV with the cops handcuffing him and hauling him away. Well, he gets sentenced to San Quentin for however long you might get for that. So about a month after that, we talk about it and we say, God, he was a psychopath and blah, 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 blah. Of course, the news like that on the news helps or hurts you. But around here, it was kind of a Jesse James story to people. So, in fact, got tired of people coming in, can I see the Lamborghini? Because they'd never seen a Lamborghini that would beat the shit with sledgehammers. So, because we had it there for a long time before the insurance company sold it. Anyway, so he goes to San Quentin, and this girl, I'm sitting in our bedroom and just woke up, and Tina was there and the kids were there, and it was ladies saying he's going to kill you when he gets out. Yeah, click. And this started happening on a regular basis, like 3 times a week. I hope you're waiting for him to come and slit your throat because it's going to happen. And I don't know how long he got click.
Ladies would be calling you.
Yeah, just calling me now and then.
Jesus.
So the next thing I did, I went down and bought a 38 and some kind of shotgun, a little 12 gauge or something.
Yeah.
And I'd never had a gun in the house since I was a kid, but it had me a little spooked because she was calling once, twice, 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I never stopped her. She finally stopped herself. I mean, I didn't know how to stop her. There didn't have that. But I know he must be out by now, but I never figured out the whole story. He came off as what he was if you looked at him and stuff like that, but he was crazy. I don't understand the whole thing.
What was his name?
I can't remember.
Can't remember his name.
Had wore glasses. It was in all the newspapers, TV stations. Had to be early 80s. I'm sure it's somewhere in the news archives. It all happened here.
Yeah.
It's there. You could look at it can be looked up. I've tried a couple times, but I didn't know how to do it. Lamborghini destroyed in front of Ferrari dealership. Yeah. And the insurance company finally sold it and fixed it for somebody. That's a short story. There's some that go on for a while too. There's some that go on for months.
Yeah.
Months. I have people out chasing them and trying to find them and finally finding them, and like salesman stories that they tried to sneak one by me. I always figured if I caught them on 5, they must have snuck by 20.